Today we are doing something that I normally don't do, and we are going to be detailing a vehicle 100% for free. Now, I definitely have a good reason for this. Today we are detailing my little baby sister's car. She is actually 10 years younger than me. She's about 25 and single, if any of you guys out there looking. But she is currently in Colombia. She is a school teacher, and she's currently on a little bit of a trip to teach a bunch of kids down in Colombia for the summer, but she's gonna be back in the next couple of days. So I want to surprise her with a brand new refreshed interior, which her vehicle really could use it. It is a little bit trashed, I'm not gonna lie, but she also is extremely busy in life. She is a school teacher, she works full-time, and she actually even has a second job. So I really want to refresh this car and reset it for her so that when she gets back home from Colombia, she can kind of go back to her normal day-to-day, and she will have a clean vehicle to get to and from work and to start off the new school year. So today we're going to be detailing the interior of my little sister's car. I'm going to be showing you guys all the products that I use, all the tools that I use, and the chemicals that I use to get the job done. And I'm going to be showing you guys a bunch of little tips and tricks along the way. So let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into it. So here we are at the back of my little sister's vehicle. This is a Chevy Trax, and it is exactly how you guys would think a little sister's vehicle would be in. Now, when I first pulled it into the driveway today, it was absolutely full of personal items, so I already took some time and took out all the personal items that were inside of this vehicle, but now we are actually ready to start getting to the actual detailing itself. So the first thing that I want to start on is the blowout and the plastics. I'm not even going to worry about the carpeting until we get to that step, and it's also going to help me save a ton of time because we can really just knock everything from the plastics down to the carpet, and then we can worry about the carpeting at a later step. So for our first couple steps, guys, the tools that I'm going to be using are a tornador. Now, the tornador is really going to make short work of our blowout, but you could use just a normal blow tool. You could even use like your vacuum if you put it on the blowout side, though I don't know why, the exhaust side of your vacuum. You could also use other stuff like one of those little battery operated blowers that's super popular now on Amazon, like the ones that are used for like blowing out your keyboards and all of that kind of stuff. Those actually work pretty well if you just need something to help dry up the chemicals and stuff like that. But for the blower that I like to use is the Tornador, or a Tornador knockoff of some sort. Now, once we actually get to the plastics themselves, I have a couple chemicals that I like to use, and the number one chemical that I use for plastics is Pink Perfection from Superior Products. It is extremely economical, and I even just found a new place to get Superior Products, and there's mass discounts on top of the already good prices that you get. So now you can get Superior Products for even cheaper than they already were. And I got a whole separate video coming out on that here in the future, but some of you guys may notice some stuff in the background, if you will, some boxes, and you guys might know where I'm now getting my Superior Products from. But if you guys want to guess on that, you guys can leave a comment down below of the new best spot to get your Superior Products, in my opinion. But along with Pink Perfection, guys, we're also using another awesome cleaner from Superior Products. This is going to be for some of the rougher stuff that's in the vehicle. My little sister is an art teacher, so there's weird stuff in this vehicle like clay. There's also like oily type substances from different stuff that they different products and supplies that they use, and cleaners and stuff. There's weird stuff in this vehicle. The biggest thing is clay on the seats. There's like some dried weird clay type stuff on the seats from having like clay projects sitting on the seats. So for some of the tougher stuff, I also got a degreaser. This is an orange-based, citrus-based degreaser from Superior Products called Orange Blast. I'm gonna be using this inside like stuff like the cup holders and anything else on the plastics that I think needs a little bit more strength of a cleaner. We're going to be using this Orange Blast cleaner, which I really like on interiors, and it smells great. Now, along with my two main cleaners, Pink Perfection and Orange Blast, we also have a bucket full of O&R Rinseless Wash. Once I get done with the actual cleaning portion of the, let's say a door panel, I like to get everything wiped down and kind of rinsed off with a rinseless wash. And it also just kind of leaves a much nicer finish on the plastics, especially when you guys are working with, like, what is called, less expensive plastics commonly found in a lot of GM vehicles, especially these vehicles, the less expensive GM vehicles, we'll call it. So anyways, this is my chemical combo for today, and along with that, we are also using a few different tools. This car has some weird stuff in it, so I do have my steamer in case we need to steam anything. I already know I need to steam the cup holders. I saw some like old candy or junk in there. She takes my daughter out all the time, and they're always going to the movies and stuff like that, so there is some candy in here and stuff like that. Now, the other tools that I got here in my little detailing tool belt right here, I have an actual sponge. So this is a regular old sponge. I like to put that in my rinseless wash bucket, and then I also have one of these little scrubbies right here. This is for our plastics. If there's any like more stuck on stuff on the plastics, this we can do a little bit of scrubbing, but it's also not going to damage the plastics in any way. And then I also have a Scrub Ninja that I'm also going to go ahead and dip in my rinseless wash bucket. Now, along with that, I also have a 30 millimeter brush from Work Stuff. This is the albino brush. This is my favorite interior brush right now, is the 30 millimeter albino brush. I also have a nice little Work Stuff leather cleaning brush. This car doesn't really have a bunch of leather in it, but it is nice to have one of these big flat brushes for when you need it. You can use it on top of the dash. You can use it anywhere that you think you need a little bit more scrubbing ability, especially on these GM textured plastics. Along with that, I have a couple little scrapers right here. These are just the common scrapers that I always carry. My favorite one is the one with the actual pick on it, and it also has a nice little flat end on the other side. Along with that, I have two towels in here. I just have a little towel. I'm probably just going to end up using this one more or less on my hands and stuff when I need to dry them. But I also have a drying towel for the interior. This is a nice extra plush towel that I can dry the interior with. So we're going to be using this after we wipe down or rinse everything off with our rinseless wash. We can use this nice, it's probably 500 GSM or so, but this is a nice thicker towel that we can use for drying. Alright, so now that you guys know everything that I'm using, I'm going to go ahead and get to work, and I'm going to bring you guys back for any of the stuff that I want to actually show you guys up close. So I'm going to go ahead and start with our door panels and work directly into the door jambs and the everything else moving into the vehicle when it comes to the plastics and any of the other hard surfaces in the vehicle, including the dash. So I'll take you guys in. Here we are at the beginning of the detail, and I always like to start with a blowout, and I like to make this step super quick, and I do it the same way going around the entire vehicle. So I like to start here, working my way to the back driver side, then the back passenger side, then back up to the front passenger side. So I'm going to be doing this the exact same way the entire way around the vehicle. So I like to start from the top down and from the inside to the outside, and that goes for the interior of the vehicle as well. So starting with our door card, and that's really all it needs, just getting rid of the big stuff. Now moving to the interior of the vehicle, we're going to be working from the center console to the outside of the vehicle, and we're going to try to push everything out to the exterior, but it doesn't always work that way, especially with the lip right here in the side of the vehicle. So we're going to do our best here. And you really don't need to get everything to the exterior of the vehicle, but if you can at least get everything onto the floor mats, that way when we take the floor mats out, all the debris is on top of there. For our trunk, this has a floor mat down here, so our biggest thing is, can we get everything to the floor mat, or can we get everything to the exterior? So don't worry too much about getting everything out, but try to at least get everything onto the floor mat. Then we can get the floor mat out and tornado it on the exterior of the car. That way we're not blowing all the debris everywhere in the car. Alright, and that's it for the trunk. Actually, that's not it for the trunk. And we're just going to toss that right back for now. We're going to put it in its secret storage space. So we just got done with the blowout, and you guys can see everything is now blown out, and it looks way, way better. Some of this stuff we're going to tackle with the steamer just to make it a little bit easier. There's some spilt makeup. There is some more spilt makeup type stuff or something sticky in here. So we're just going to knock all that out with the steamer. There's a little bit of stuff in here, and the biggest thing that I want to knock out with the steamer is my little sister had a huge oil problem, an oil spill. It was basically her turbo was leaking. She's had this happen twice now in this car, and the last time that it happened, oil got absolutely everywhere. It turned into a huge mess. So there is some oil in this car, so we're going to be tackling that with the steamer as well as our citrus degreaser. So let's go ahead and knock out all the plastics, the dash, everything else. But as far as the blowout, guys, we even got all the seams of the seats and all that kind of stuff. There was tons of sand in here before. We got most of all of that out. There's still a few things in there, but for the most part, this car is looking a million times better. We even got underneath the seats. This is paint. I don't know if we're going to be able to get that off. That is, I believe, acrylic paint or something like that. We'll see what we can do with that. And down here, yeah, everything's looking really good. So we're going to get these floor mats out. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to get all of these floor mats out, and I bet underneath the floor mats is not even going to be that bad. Let's check it out. Give that a nice little fold. Get that out of there. Look at that. Now we just got to take care of our edges really, really good, but for the most part, the middle is relatively clean. Beautiful. So I'm going to go ahead and take out the rest of the floor mats, and then we can get to our plastics. So getting started on our plastics, I like to get everything soaked first with Pink Perfection. Now, Pink Perfection is a super good interior cleaner. I have it mixed in here at 10-to-1, and you really don't need that much of it, guys. A little bit can actually go quite a long way. But I like to make sure that they're on a car like this, that's had some oil spills. It's also my little sister's, car. She has a lot of art projects and stuff that she has in and out of here, paint type stuff. So I am gonna soak everything pretty good, but we don't exactly need it to be like completely dripping off the panel. We just need enough so that everything is nice and coated. And I'm not gonna get the top of the dash yet, but I am gonna go ahead and soak my center console, including these cup holders. For the center console, I am gonna go ahead and get that started dwelling with the Pink Perfection. So I'm just gonna spray a little liberal amount inside of these cup holders. They definitely need it. So now that this Pink Perfection is dwelling, I'm also gonna use a little bit of our Orange Blast Citrus Cleaner just in some of these spots that I noticed some oil staining. So we're just gonna get that sprayed in a couple little areas here. There we go. And I'm also gonna put a tiny bit in my cup holders just for now. Let that start dwelling. Now when it comes to agitating, guys, I typically like to start with my detail brush. And I like to load it up a little bit with some Pink Perfection, and then I will get in here to all the spots that I normally need to get with a brush. So I'll get into all the little cracks, the nooks and crannies, all those areas. I don't need to worry too much about the flat areas of the vehicle. Like to get the grill on here. Get down in the pocket. See if we can get that makeup out a little bit. Now, since I do have my steamer out for today, I'm gonna go ahead and steam some of these pockets and cracks in here. Not really worried about making a mess. See if we can get that junk out of the bottom of here. And we got it loose. Heat that up a little bit, get a little bit more power out of our cleaner. And that's about it for our scrub brush. Now we can take our actual sponge and get into here. Now these plastics were pretty bad, so I'm scrubbing them pretty good. Now when it comes to different types of media to agitate cars like this, I like to start with a sponge before I use something like a Scrub Ninja. The sponge is just going to make quicker work of it. And it's also just soft enough that it's not going to do any damage to the plastics or anything like that. And these cost a lot less. So on dirtier cars, I can just throw this out at the end of a detail, or I can use it on a few details and then get rid of it. These Scrub Ninjas, they're like $5 a piece or so. So I like to keep these for as long as possible. So I usually use them on cleaner cars, or once I actually get done with my sponge, I'll go kind of back over everything with my Scrub Ninja. Make sure I didn't miss any areas. And then you can come in here with your rinseless wash. Now this is soaked with rinseless wash. I like to wring it out as much as possible. So now we're really just using it to wipe down all the surfaces. Make sure nothing's on there as far as chemicals go. and it should be actually drying the surface a little bit as you're going. Still got that little spot. I think that was actually gum, not makeup. You guys can see we can just reactivate that pink perfection just with that rinseless wash. Even if it gets a little dried up. And I'm going to be swishing between my sponge and my detail brush. I'm going to use my steamer since we got it out on the pedals. Make sure those are scrubbed good. Another thing that I always like to wipe down with this rinseless wash are all of these rubber little panels right here. You can kind of get into the door jambs a little bit. I'm going to probably spray those out with the pressure washer though. And I'm not really worrying if I get a bunch of water in the car because we're about to dry everything. Even though we're not doing an exterior today, but now that we're done with all of the plastics that we sprayed, I'm gonna go ahead and get everything dried up here. Now we can take our towel and give all this a nice dry. Dry our edges. If you really want to, guys, you could spray this with like a waterless wash, some kind of quick detailer, anything like that, just to give it a little bit of protection. I'll probably do that at a later time. I think it's about to start raining again here. Get our seat plastics dry. Now moving into the dash and the center console, the first thing that I like to do once I'm moving into this spot is I like to actually cover the gauge cluster. That way I'm not accidentally spraying any of this with chemical when I go to spray my steering wheel. So let's go ahead and get that covered really quickly. Sometimes you'll need a couple towels to make sure everything is covered. And the other thing that I don't like to spray with Pink Perfection, or really any cleaner other than a rinseless wash, a gentle glass cleaner, or a just straight distilled water, is screens. So only use those three chemicals on screens, and avoid actually hitting it with any kind of APC, any APCD, anything like that. So now I can actually get the rest of my dash sprayed down, including my steering wheel. And I don't go too hard on this actual center console portion, except for the cup holders. And this little spot down here, as long as it doesn't have any USB or anything that you're gonna accidentally spray. So now I'm gonna take my rinseless wash sponge, and we're gonna go ahead and get to scrubbing. For the steering wheel, I like to use this method because it just makes really short work of it. I use the scrubby side of my sponge, and it really gets into all of the little grooves, especially if you're working on a leather steering wheel. This one's just plastic, but if you're working on a leather steering wheel, these work really, really good to get that leather scrubbed down and reset. Especially like the little spots where they grip and it gets all that nastiness right there. So we got this completely scrubbed down. I'm gonna go ahead and dip this in my rinseless wash bucket. Now that we are done with that, get all this steamed. And while we're over here, now you could, there's a few different ways to clean the vents, but for today, this is just steam on the screen right now, guys. But for today, I'm going to show you guys how to clean them with the steam cleaner. There's a ton of ways. You could even just stick the brush in there, give them a nice scrub, and that usually gets the job done pretty good. But for today, I want to show you guys how to do it with a steamer. So I like to start with the side little pockets over here. Sometimes they even have a little air vent on the door itself. You guys can spray into there with the steam. But I'm going to start here. You guys can see all the steam comes out, the vents, and all that kind of stuff. While we're doing that, we can kind of scrub the vent a little bit. Let's get to this lower vent down here. And we're going to come over to this vent, get that one. Come over to this vent, get that one. And come over to this vent and get that one. Alright guys, and our vents are all taken care of. We're going to go ahead and grab our nice big flat sponge again, and we can scrub down our dash nice, quick, and easy. Now that we got our steering wheel done as well, we can remove that towel. Get the sides of the center console. Places people always forget, in between the seats. Side of our center console. In between the seats. Already got this little spot in front of the parking brake, so I don't need to worry about that. We're going straight to the back here, and on our seats we're gonna get these little spots. So now that is all scrubbed down real good. Let's get all our nooks, crannies with this guy. You can move the, if you have the keys on you, you can move that gear shifter back a little bit. I'll do that off camera. I don't have the keys on me. For this whole dash spot, I like to use just that rinseless water. And if I am hitting the screen real quick, which I will, get into those corners with my brush, and then dry it right away with my drying towel. Now we got a nice scrubbed screen. And I can do that on this one because it has a nice little glass cover on it. Not all screens will have that glass cover on there. Alright, so we are done with all the scrubbing. The last thing that we need to do is get our cup holders. For this, we are going to first use one of our... Now, I already scrubbed out our cup holders, but I want to get all the remaining chemical out of there. So I grab my rinseless wash rag, and I'm rinsing these out before I start spraying them. I just don't want the chemical going all over me and the car. Go ahead and grab our steamer. Get the corners. This one has a ton of stuff in here of some sort. Looks like a plant. Not the good kind either. Alright, we got everything wiped down. Ooh, we almost forgot this little cubby hole in the center console. I'm not sure what happened to all this. This is like busted. That all needs to be put back together or something. Not really sure what happened there. Alright. And let's get this cubby hole. That is that. Over here needs a little steam action. Alright, we just got done with all of the cleaning over here, so now we can hit this up. So that is it for the driver's side. We just got done with the driver's side door, the driver's side kick panel, the side of the seat. We moved into the center console, including the dash and the whole steering column assembly. And we even wiped down our gauges, but we're gonna come back to those at the end of the detail. We're just gonna touch them up with either a little rinseless wash or maybe a detail spray or something simple just to shine and gloss them up a little bit. But for now, all of this is clean, so I'm going to do the exact same thing to the back seats as far as the doors, the kick panels, any of the remaining plastics, the passenger front. We're going to do the same thing, the doors, the kick panels, and I'm going to clean any of the plastics in the trunk space. And then I'm going to check in with you guys once we get to the actual seats and floors. So I'm going to see if I could show you guys this part one-handed, but here we are. You guys can see these seat rails are extremely dirty in there. A lot of old grease or old there's a lot of old grease in there. There's a bunch of junk and dirt and stuff. So I got this guy loaded up with some Pink Perfection right now, and I'm just gonna go ahead and scrub this out just a little bit. Don't need to go too crazy. All right, and we might as well get our other one while we're over here. There we go. And we can get this little vent while we're down here as well. All right. So now that we got those agitated a little bit, I'm gonna grab my steamer. And first, let's get all the water out of the line. I'm gonna grab my steamer, and we're gonna go ahead and steam that. can go ahead and wipe these out a little bit. If you pop this little guy off, it's no big deal. It just pops right back on. And let's go ahead and wipe down this other side. Now we can grab a blower of some sort. All right, we got our tornador here. And you guys can see that those look a million times better now. And we can also go ahead and blow off that guy and blow off our other guy. Alright, and that's it for our seat rails, guys. So now that I showed you guys how to take care of your seat rails, I'm going to do the exact same thing for the front of the seat rails and for the passenger side seat rails. So it is day number 2 of working on my little sister's vehicle, and today I want to tackle all of the upholstery and the carpeting. Now earlier today I actually already went through and did all of the vacuuming. That took me about half an hour to get all of the vacuuming done inside of the vehicle, and now I am ready to get to the shampooing of the upholstery and the carpeting. So for the tools that we're going to be using for the carpet and upholstery shampooing, we're going to be, for one, using my Craftsman 6 horsepower 10-gallon vacuum. I've done videos on that in the past, and we're going to be using my DIY extractor kit. Now along with that, we're also going to be using a drill brush to agitate all of the upholstery and carpeting, and for that I like to use a right angle drill. I feel like a right angle drill works so much better than a traditional drill, just because of the ergonomics of it, and I like being able to get under the seats when I need to, and this allows me to get deeper under the seats and all some tighter spaces that a normal drill really can't get to because it's just a longer package. On here I have a normal little 3 or so inch drill brush on here, and I also have a second drill brush just in case I need it, but most likely I should be able to get everything agitated with just the little 3-inch drill brush that we already have on there. Now along with our extractor and drill brush, we also have a steamer. Now there are a few stains on the carpeting and upholstery, so I'm just going to tackle those really quickly with the steamer, but I'm not going to go crazy with the steamer today. I'm just going to be using it where it needs to be used. Along with that, we also have a tornador. Now I'm going to be using the tornador in case I get some overspray on the plastics and all that kind of stuff. I can kind of spray it off and then wipe it down with my little purple drying towel that I have in my pouch. And I obviously have the rest of my tools that I carry in my pouch just in case I need them. And with that, I do have a nice little brush right here, but most likely I won't really need most of the stuff in here except for my little drying towel. Now when it comes to chemicals for shampooing, for today I'm going to be using, as a pre-spotter, I'm going to be using Does It All Enzyme Cleaner. This is really going to help refresh all the carpeting and upholstery to get rid of all the smells and that type of stuff, and get rid of the enzymes that might be on the carpeting and upholstery. Now along with that, I have Zap It right here, and you guys will notice that I'm using my Ryobi little electric sprayer. This is just going to make the spraying process a little bit faster, and I'm not going to have to be pulling the trigger so much, and I can just use one head and swap it between the different bottles really quick and easily. And along with that stuff, guys, I normally don't always shampoo carpets and upholstery with this, but I have Orange Blast from Superior Products. All three of these products are from Superior Products today. But I have Orange Blast, and the only reason I'm using this is because I want a little bit of a degreaser, because there are a couple little spots where I can see some motor oil. And the only reason I know it's motor oil is because my sister just had the turbo replaced on this car. It was leaking oil everywhere, got on her and her passenger's shoes and stuff like that, and they kind of got a little bit of that inside of the vehicle. Most of it was on top of the rubber floor mats, which came off really, really easily, but a little bit of it may have gotten onto certain parts of the carpeting. So any of those parts I'm just gonna spray down at the same time that I treat it with my pre-spotter does it all enzyme cleaner. So I'm just gonna be using this selectively on the spots that need it. But if you guys did want to, you can shampoo carpets with just this product, or even just zap it on its own. You don't always need an enzyme cleaner. But I like to use an enzyme cleaner, especially when you're working on a vehicle like this that really has never been shampooed, and it may have a little bit of a odor in it, or it just hasn't been cleaned in a really, really long time. I like to use an enzyme cleaner. It just helps me get better results with the shampooing process. So let's go ahead and jump to the back seats. I'm going to show you guys how I get this done, and then I'm going to blast through the rest of the vehicle. So here we are in the back seats, guys. I got my knee pads on. This is just going to make the job way, way easier. But the first thing that I want to do is use my pre-spotter Does It All enzyme cleaner, and we're going to actually spray the entire vehicle with Does It All enzyme cleaner. So I'm going to start right here on the carpeting. Any of these spots that have like some deep staining on them, I want to put a little bit extra of that Does It All enzyme cleaner on there, just in case those are like food stains or anything like that. And I will come over to the other side to get the other side. And you are going to spray the plastics just a tiny bit. That's fine. This stuff is not going to hurt the plastics whatsoever. I'm going to go ahead and get this seat, mostly the seat bottom. This is where all the stuff kind of gets put, you know, when you got to ride with some stuff in your car. My sister has a lot of like clay projects that they do in school, and sometimes she has to carry them around, and sometimes they are not like, you know, put in the kiln yet. And so they'll get like clay sometimes in her vehicle. So there's a little bit of that on the bottom of these seats, I believe. That's what that tan stuff is. And honestly, this cup holder looks like it's really never used, but we'll shampoo it as well. Give it a little spray there. So we just laid down all of our Does It All enzyme cleaner. Now I'm going to lay down some of this Orange Blast on just a couple selective little areas. Right there, I can tell there's a little something extra. It's really just right back here. Alright, that's good on that. And now we're just putting down some of our Zap It. This is our actual shampoo. But you can actually even use this to clean plastics. You could use it to clean pretty much an entire interior if you wanted to. Clean the steering wheel. It's a great, great stain remover, but it's also really good at just all around cleaner. So now that everything is sprayed and we let it dwell for a couple minutes, I'm gonna go ahead and start agitating everything, and we can actually start the shampooing process. Now, like I said, guys, these seats had a little bit of clay and stuff on them, so I do want to hit them with this steamer really quickly. Not going too crazy, but just to help out this chemical a little bit. And then we can get to extracting. A couple little stains on there. Gonna knock those out real quick. Now for the floors, guys, just for an example, this is why I like the right angle drill, is when you guys do have a car that you need to get under here a little bit. Now when you are getting under the seats, first off, be very mindful of wherever there are cables or anything like that. This can get caught in the cables. So stay at least an inch or two away from it. And if you guys don't have a steamer, don't worry about it. Just do the best job that you can without it. But this is definitely helping to take off whatever this stuff was. I believe some kind of oil or grease. Give it a little brush. And we are looking how we should. Let's get our DIY extractor set up here real quick. And I like to just give it a nice little spray over the top. Nothing too crazy. That way I don't really have to pull my trigger too much once we start extracting here. Power that. Alright, just got done with all the shampooing. I'm just gonna wipe down any overspray that got on these plastics. This is also a good final wipe down before we put our dressing on. You guys can kind of just go over the seats real quick. Carpets. Way better. We got a drill brush in there. There we go. Got her. All right, and that is literally it for the shampooing process. It's super simple. When you get a car like this, sometimes it does take a little bit longer. This one had like some clay and dirt in the seats from going out to the beach, Chicago Beach. If you guys haven't been there, it's absolutely beautiful. Super, super easy process, especially with those chemicals. But let's go ahead and knock out the front really, really quickly, and then we'll be touching this guy up with the final touches. All right, guys, we are ready to finish this guy up with some dressing. So I'm gonna go ahead and dress all of the interior plastics, and I typically use a little sprayer just like this. I've done a video on this guy in the past, but this is a detail sprayer, and it holds in here some aqua gloss at 3-to-1. So it's pretty runny, pretty liquidy. It might even be a little closer to 4-to-1, but 3-to-1 is typically what I'm doing. And this is how I typically go about applying it. So up here, we're gonna come up to the top of the window. You guys can notice I kind of making myself a nice little barrier, and I just go whoop, and now we just got that whole top part dressed. We can kind of buff that in real quick. There we go. And go ahead and wipe that in, get that nice and evenly applied over to the whole door. The sprayer is literally just applying the dressing. We still need to actually buff it in a little bit, just so we don't get like too much in one area or anything like that. As soon as we get this door done, might put a little bit more on this cheaper rubbery stuff that Chevy likes to do on their doors. All right, so we got aqua gloss on our door. I'm gonna come straight into this kick panel and the inner door trim right here. We're just gonna go bam, bam, all the way up. Give that a nice little wipe real quick. There we go. Get our center console. Usually don't put too much on the center console itself, at least not like where the controls and everything are. Really just the plastics. I'll use a little bit of what's already on the towel just to dress up these hard plastics right here. Go nice, a little liberal in this area. Wipe out those cup holders. Get that piano black trim. Spray into the vents just a wee bit so they're not looking dry. And for the top part of the dash, bam bam, and wipe that on. You don't want too much on the top of the dash. You don't want too much of this on the top of the dash because it can off gas and then it gets your window dirty. So I just put a little bit on the top of the dash. And then I just do the same thing for the entire rest of the vehicle. Super quick, super easy. All right, so now we are taking care of our glass, and for that, I like to use Superior Products Glass Cleaner, just their aerosol glass cleaner. It is a little bit pricey, but I find that you use so little when you guys are cleaning a window. This stuff literally can last me a really long time, and yeah, you just barely use any, and that's really all you need. So I'm gonna take care of these interior glass real quick, and I also take care of the exterior, even if it's a client that's only doing an interior detail. It's just something that I like to do personally, and I just feel like it helps my client feel like their car is a little bit cleaner when they can actually see out of all the glass really well, and it's not just the interior of the glass clean. So I like to take the extra 2 seconds. This can is almost gone. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. All right. So I like to take the extra 2 seconds just to make sure we get the outside glass clean and the inside glass clean. Have a little streak on the inside, guys. That's all we need. There we go. All right, there we go. We had a little corner streak, but now we're all good. Windows looking beautiful. See if we can use up the rest of this can. This is actually my first can to go out since I switched over to the aerosol. So yeah, that was actually my first can to go out since we swapped over to the aerosol. This stuff sprays really good when the bottle's fresh, just so you guys can see the difference. But it does last a really, really, really long time. The bottle feels like extra full. And you guys can see I usually use the same side for all my scrubbing. And then flip over to my clean side and give it a nice final wipe. And we have some hard water spots on the inside of this window. So let's see if we can get those off with just our glass cleaner. Wish I had time to take care of that exterior for her, but I gotta go pick her up from the airport shortly. So now we're up here on the exterior of the front glass. Now, usually this is a little bit easier because you would have just washed the exterior of the vehicle. But for today, I'm just going to be using my glass cleaner as a little bit of a lubricant. Be a little bit more liberal than usual. And I'm going to take a steel wool. This is quad-ot steel wool. And we're just going to use this to actually scrub the front windshield. And this will make really, really quick work of any bug guts and any other contamination that's really on these windows. Just polish it up a little bit. All right, we're done with our steel wool now, so now we can just go ahead and give this guy a nice wipe. Pulling over to our clean side. And that is it for the front glass. I'm gonna knock out the other half. All right, so I wasn't planning on doing this part for my little sister, but I want to set off the car just a little bit more. So I'm going to give her one of these guys. I have a bunch of them in stock. So these are the Meguiar's Car Bombs, the whole car air refresher. And I just call them car bombs. There's a bunch of other companies that make something similar. But I'm going to go ahead and get the car turned on real quick. So let me go ahead and grab the keys. We're going to get the car turned on, turn off those windshield wipers, and I'm going to set the car to circulate, and I am also going to set this to just regular old air. We don't necessarily need the fan on, and I'm gonna put it on so it's the floor vents and these vents right here, which are the just the front facing vents. So now we have our whole car air refresher right here from Meguiar's. I'm gonna pop the cap off of this guy, and all we need to do is put this in the cup holder, and then I'm gonna trigger it by pushing this little button on there. We're gonna close the doors, let the car run for 10 to 15 minutes, and then this car will be smelling super, super fresh, and hopefully my sister won't really need to be using those vent air fresheners that I always see in her car. So, let's go ahead and toss this guy in right here. We're gonna hit it, bada bing, bada boom. We're gonna do this quick. Bam. Get out of there. Oh, that smelled good. That smelled real good. Usually I use a different scent, but that is the summer breeze or summer scent that they have. Smells really good, actually. Smells kind of similar to what she had in there before. So I'm gonna give this 10 minutes and we're gonna come back and see how she smells. It's been about 10 minutes. Let's go check and see how this thing is smelling. Oh man, that's smelling fresh in here. This is a pretty strong smell. This is the sweet summer breeze. Smells pretty good though. I think my sister's really gonna dig it. She likes these like fruity, girly kind of smells. So I think she's really gonna like this. Usually for the guys, I always go with the black ice. For the girls, I either go with the fresh car scent or this guy right here. So anyways guys, this thing smells a million times better. I'm going to roll down the windows real quick. Roll down the back ones as well. And let this thing air out now for 10 minutes. So in 10 minutes, we'll be done with this thing. So after a few hours, we were able to get this thing completely reset and back to how it should be. I'm super excited about the turnaround we were able to do on this guy. We got all the plastics taken care of, all of the upholstery, all of the carpeting. We took care of all the glass inside and out. So yeah, I'm really happy with the turnaround with this thing, and I'm super excited to see what my little sister's reaction to, you know, getting a free detail will be. I've actually never cleaned her vehicle since I started my detailing business. She's just super, super busy working all the time. She works 2 jobs. It works extremely hard. And she also even takes my sister out all the time on the weekends. So she's quite busy and she's always using her vehicle. So yeah, I'm really glad I was able to get it reset for her. And I'm excited to see her reaction later tonight when we pick her up over at O'Hare. But that is pretty much all that I had for this particular detail. If you guys have any questions for me on any of the products we used, any of the tools we used, or even any of the processes that we did, feel free to ask those down in the comments down below. And that's pretty much all that I had for today's video. So I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.